Okay, well, thank everybody. And next item on the agenda is legislative matters. Item A is City Council consideration of an urgency ordinance amending Chapter 17.65 of the Corona Municipal Code relating to the regulation of telecommunication facilities. Do we want a report from, would it be Joanne? Anybody need a report? Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. What we're responding to this evening is a law that was passed by Congress back in 2012. And the purpose of that law was to accelerate wireless infrastructure actually throughout the country. And what they did, they wanted to establish some regulations that really come into play when you're dealing with local government. I don't want to say that they're necessarily tying our hands, but they are imposing some restrictions on us to where we're going to need to respond to certain requests from carriers. Because the original law was quite vague, it was ambiguous as to some of the terminology that was used in the law, as well as some of the definitions. Earlier this year, they came out in January and actually established some rules. They defined some terms that are heavily used within the law, as well as a process that we will need to follow. And the modification to these facilities will come into play, and we will be examining them if they are considered a non-substantial modification. If they are not substantially changing a facility based on the rules that have been established, we have to approve them, and there is a timeline as to which we have to approve them. We will have 60 days to respond. If they exceed the standards that are put into the law, it will then go back to the standards that we have in place, whether it be a minor CUP or a major CUP or a modification. The staff report outlines what some of that criteria is. I'll just give you some examples. If you have an existing facility out there and you have a carrier that comes in and wants to increase the height of it by more than 10%, or the height is the same height as an existing antenna array, but it does not have a separation of more than 20 feet from an existing antenna array, that would be considered a minor modification that we would have to look at through an administration level. If you have something that's actually located within the public right-of-way and they want to increase the height by 10% or no more than 10 feet, we would have to look at that at an administrative level. What this law still allows us to do, though, is look at the design. If they are in any way deviating from a stealth design, which we strongly impose through the process, it would not qualify under this law. So we still have some authority over that. So if they come in, for example, we have monopines, which are very popular throughout the city, and they want to increase the height of that monopine, but they do it in a way that no longer looks like a tree, it would not qualify. So it would go back to the process of how it was originally approved. So we still have authority in that regard. What we're dealing here is really on getting some of these carriers in the process quickly, getting them approved and moving forward. But we needed to go in and amend our ordinance in order to do that, and also to define some of the terms that are used within the law. We needed to deviate between a support structure, an actual tower, and what is a base station. So when you look at all the red lines, it's a lot of work. We've been through this. We will be looking closely at the law because it really is a roadmap for us, but we just need to make the changes tonight because it will go into effect on April 8th. We will be following up with a regular ordinance and taking that back through the Planning Commission. It'll come back again through this council, but right now we're just trying to get the urgency ordinance adopted.
So how does it affect if someone makes a modification to a cell site and gives us plans that are different than what they've said they're going to give us?
Well, that's a process we'll deal with. Trust me, lesson learned of what you're describing today. But again, that's something that we'll have to look at both fronts, from what they present to us as staff and then what we start approving through the building process.
Okay. And just so CHPS, since there's a number of members here, we did have the church site come back today, so we'll have further discussion on that. But anyway, Karen?
So how much money are they giving us for this ordinance?
They are not giving us any money, but the application process fees still stand. So we already have fees established for zoning administrator and for the CUP.
That
So-
was a tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I know.
Meaning we're, once again, we are being dictated on how we're supposed to take care of our city and do it their way with no extra money. So that was just my point. That was the whole gist of it. Is this is a dictating, again, that we have no say in how
It's
we
by
govern.
default. We have to do it by default.
So, thank you. A very good explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I could see where in some cities, I mean, we've been very friendly in
Yes.
trying to accommodate them, but I can see in some cities where it probably has been more problematic. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
That didn't have to be read, did it, with an urgency?
No. Yep.
Okay, thank you.